We felt like confident that we can like play with the big players out there.
When do you stop doing the consultancy that will get you the easy cash?
We made the decision to move the company fully to the US.
You mentioned something that is always a hot topic.
Well, I don't know, ask me in a couple of years, I guess. It cannot be more competitive. We have like a realistic chance.
Hello, Jessica. And thanks
Hi.
for coming here today. I know you're very busy, actually, these days. So it's an extra effort from your side. So thanks a lot for that.
Well, we are enjoying the beauty of Munich's heart here at Weira and Marienplatz. So I better share our experiences.
That's true. That's wise. Would you tell a little bit, for the starters, what Loyee is?
So Loyee is a sales tech platform, and we prioritize and qualify, leads for companies so that they can focus on the deals that close fastest, highest, and that their sales reps focus always on the highest ROI accounts. We started as like a nudge bot that was nudging reps into their best next action until we realized that there are so many inefficiencies that we cannot scale our nudge bot. And we transitioned to this new cool product that is live with customers. And happy to share more.
How was it at the beginning? Because I guess this transition and this pivot is a common thing that always happens in startups, right? Where and why did you start? Because actually you were the founder and the CEO of the company, right? Yes. And why did you start with this?
Okay. Yeah. It's a journey, right? A startup is a journey. And I would say that it's always like a learning curve. Maybe it's not even a pivot per se. So we never pivoted so extremely, but it was, in retrospective, it's more like a process that happens rather gradually. Sometimes you have to make hard decision and pivot completely, but in our case, it was like a development. So we started off as like a nudge bot that nudged, employees, sales reps into the best next action. And why nudging? Because I am a financial economist, and I was working with the Nobel laureate Richard Thaler, who won in 2017 a Nobel Prize, and I was supporting him on a nudge paper that then became the Nobel Prize paper.
Insane.
And this concept is quite famous in finance and economics and marketing and sales. You know, how can we nudge people to make better decisions? And we realized then that in the sales industry, management makes like super top goals, like they do their financial planning, they want exactly like they have their revenue forecast, but then one of our belief was that no one really translates it properly to like the individual contributors, the sales team. And that's why we translated basically the goals into those nudges that would nudge the reps into the best next action along their journey so that they can hit quota, hit their targets, that they are reminded for better pipeline hygiene. And when we were working with the customers, we first started with enterprise customers in Germany. We noticed, like somehow it's working. But it's like very slow to work with enterprise customers and the different industries. So we knew we have to narrow down our focus. It's basically what the books tell you, but you have to experience it yourself. And then we made the pivot in a way, or we made a decision to not focus on the German market, but on the US market, because we have teams around the globe, and we noticed that like especially the US teams and the international teams were highly engaged with our solution. So while my co-founder and sister was at UC Berkeley, we made the decision to move the company fully to the US. We then started to collaborate with large enterprises there, but in the tech industry. And this was super cool because we realized, they are like 10, 20 years ahead of the companies that we worked here in Germany, and was so fascinating. But enterprise sales is very different in the US. So we had to change again. And then we made the decision to move a little bit more mid-market to smaller companies. And then while this nudge board was up and running, we also noticed, okay, every company has such a different sales process, such a different tool stack, and in order to create like a really scalable product, there has to happen a lot, and probably it would take us like 2 or 3 years in development, and without having like a product at scale. So we knew again, okay, we need to narrow down the focus, and then we decided to pick a stage in the sales process where we just focus on, and that was more top of the funnel. So basically, when you create opportunities, when you build your pipeline, and especially in this economy, companies like told us, okay, they have really difficulties in planning their TAM, their SAM. They have really difficulties in generating pipeline and nudging employees to create their own pipeline. So that's basically how we jumped onto this idea. So it was like a process, but you see it's a long process in a startup journey.
Because when did you start it in time horizon wise to be able to get the idea? When did you actually start it in Loyee? When was it founded? And
yeah, so the German entity was founded in 2021, pretty late. But the US company actually was founded last year, 2022, pretty much around this time. We decided to all work full time. We also onboarded our third co-founder, Mike. He's from the US with Cuban background. And this is basically where we knew, okay, now we can fundraise. Now we are a full set team. Now we have the use cases. We have like first experiences with sales, with customers. So we can really ask other people for money, basically, that we know what to do with it.
Okay. I mean, you went through a lot of interesting topics. And I wanted to understand a little bit more. Because you said, of course, you point out the difference between to sell in enterprise in German and to sell in enterprise in US. At the beginning, you started in German while you were developing the product, I guess. And then you moved to US because you saw the opportunity there was bigger, and then you have to adapt the product there, right? So you mentioned something that is always a hot topic, that is, when do you stop doing the consultancy that will get you the easy cash, and when do you scale the product? So from what I got, it was easier from you to say, let's build something here in US, a product, and then try to scale it there. Because in Germany, that was not working that well. And let's go to the mid-market there. Did I get it right?
Yeah. So I think like to summarize it a little bit on another level. So we work with companies that have recurring revenue. That can be tech companies, insurance, media, so anything that is recurring, and high velocity. We also work with sales reps that target the enterprise customer. When we were in Germany, we were mainly working with the media and insurance companies. And they didn't have the tool stack and the tech stack that the US companies were having. So they use way more tools, they use way more sophisticated tools, the tool adoption is way higher, and also the trust into newer technologies is higher, I would say. And when we had the choice and started to work with like the tech companies in the US and saw like the adoption, we noticed, okay, why would we restrict ourselves? The German market is very famous and big for like mid-level and Mittelstand companies. Yep. That's not our target group. Mittelstand companies are mainly from like manufacturing, for example, and so on. And our product needed to twist a lot to, collaborate with this customer group. And in the US, you have like a huge, SAM of tech companies, also in the mid-market. And the market is just way bigger by itself. So, Germany is a huge market for how large Germany is, but the US, especially for tech companies in the mid-market space, you still have like a lot of opportunities. And that was another point, that we are in a very competitive space. B2B SaaS,
Yeah.
AI applied, so it cannot be more competitive. And then we realized, okay, if the market is bigger in the US and we are in a competitive space, we rather move over there, because at least, we have like a realistic chance.
Fair. Totally fair. Yeah, okay, makes sense. Makes sense. And to understand a little bit more the product itself, it was, I will say it from the very basic stuff, and you please correct me. It was like, imagine that you have a sales guy named Mark, and Mark is selling whatever product he's selling in his company. So you get reminders and notifications like, "Hey, Mark, you forgot. Like, have you talked to the guys from Mercedes?" Or, "Hey, Mark, do you remember that you have to go to BMW this week?" Is it the way it started, like to increase that productivity? How did it actually work?
Yeah. So yeah, you would. So the MVP was basically getting reminders and nudges. So you could
Nuts.
always.
Yeah.
So the difference between a reminder and a nudge is like a nudge. A reminder can be a nudge, right? So
Yep.
when you set your alarm in the morning, that's actually a nudge that you don't, that you wake up and
Yep.
that you don't sleep in. But in a nudge, in like a more narrow term, is also something that has attached an action. So we would send the reminders, but they could trigger an action, and we would automate those actions. So, for example, one set of nudges can be just like a simple reminder. Hey, you haven't met your metrics, whatever. But in the next step, it would be, hey, here's a nudge, but here you have like 3 buttons that you can press to accelerate an action. So this could
Nice.
be like automatically writing an email, automatically enrolling them into a cadence. Other nudges where like, hey, here are your top 10 leads of this day or of this week. Focus on those, and you could directly, trigger again actions. That was the MVP product. Now it's like a own platform. It still has like the nudges, because we believe it's important. To stay on top of things. It's just like happening so much so fast. We also leverage like large language models that are in the market, to make sure that we always work on the best accounts, and that we also give now the reps the context on these accounts, that they can use then to personalize their messaging, have talk tracks on how to engage with customers, and so on.
That's great. I'm thinking that it should be, or it's going to be difficult to be able to, let's say, a regular company, X company, they already have the sales pipeline established, kind of. And now you say, okay, I'm going to increase your effectiveness in the sales team, and you will need to integrate with the tools that are there, right? Because also I was guessing, like, if you get reminders of you have to talk to X, Y, and Z, you will need to know if that guy or that person is available at a specific time, I guess. So imagine you don't nudge him while he or she is in a meeting, and you have to try to track that in your platform, but I guess also in the SAP or HubSpot or whatever you name it. How is that integration works?
So we integrate with Salesforce, with HubSpot, and also have like partnerships with Outreach, SalesLoft, like the key sales tools actually. Apollo, Zoom Info. We also work with G2 and
Nice.
Six Sense Data for intent. So we integrate with a lot of tools, which is important. The larger the company is that we work with, the more they integrate. But we have also smaller companies using our tool where they just upload a CSV, or like companies in the security space that do not want to integrate. They just basically use a CSV function. It's a lot of development work, obviously, but you need those integrations.
Yep.
And the reason is also, if you work with also SDRs or BDRs that usually don't have like this tons of years of experience, they're very overwhelmed with the tool stack. I mean, they have like, 5 to 10 different tools they have to look at simultaneously, and then have open Google, the web, to research, okay, in what positions are they hiring? What is the company about? How did the company develop over time? So on and so forth. So this is what we've, simplify. So when a rep comes on our platform, not only do they see like the best leads and accounts on top that they need to work off, but they also get like the whole account intelligence. Why is this account important? How did their account develop? And they use it then for their messaging. And usually they would do the research manually. And this way we can do it. And yeah.
I see. That's good. Do you prefer like the companies that already have a lot of systems in place, or like do you think you add more value there, and with the companies that don't have anything, and you go and it's like it's all about Loyee? Which one was your preferred customer?
I mean, the more tools they have, I would say the teams are bigger, which is always nice to have obviously larger teams. But we are also happy about like smaller use cases. Like we have, for example, one really cool payments company, and they have their own lists scraped. And they just import the CSV, and it's really cool to see how they work off the platform with low touch. We don't have to do like a big sales process. We can just hand it to them, and it's like way easier and less complex from like a customer success perspective. And they want to know like which payments providers are in use. Like, do they use, for example, Stripe? Do they use FastSpring? And then map out the market so that they know who to go after first, how to leverage that for messaging. And it's like also these simple use cases that make even people happy. So yeah.
That's always nice. If your clients are happy, I guess you're happy as well. I want to understand a little bit more about then the business model itself. Like, is it a license? I guess that's the goal.
So right now we have a license-based model, but it's not. It's now for the early stage, just to communicate easier. So you have to buy at least 5 licenses.
Okay.
But yeah, eventually we have also like a consumption-based pricing that we are redefining right now.
Yeah. Like, do you have, like, if you're willing and if you can, and if you're not breaking any NDAs, like, can you share anything else about your clients? Like, are you present already in many clients in US and in Germany? What's the balance of your company in terms of international scale? Because I guess you're more focused on US, as you said, but still you're based in Germany.
We focus on the US market, so there's also a majority of customers, but we also work with like couple of startups in Germany.
Okay.
So usually they hit at least like Series A level.
Okay.
And are developing like a scalable sales motion themselves. Oftentimes they also transition from inbound sales to like a more outbound approach, there we can help them a lot. In terms of internationality, so our company's headquarters is in California. So we are a Silicon Valley-based company, and we have a subsidiary in Germany. And this is very important because, just out of like privacy reasons, tech security reasons, we need to make sure that the US companies are served on US ground and that the German companies are served from German ground, or like from EU ground, I guess. We also have companies in the UK, so we are not restricted geographically, I would say, at this moment, but also because we are early stage.
Yep.
And it's not, we are still like testing also what will make us grow faster. So with different use cases, we can understand, okay, where to narrow down the focus even more. But yeah, I mean, what we know for now, focus is the US, just because they're also using mainly the tool stack that we want to work with and that we can support. For us, I mean, that's like another topic, but I think it's important to mention. So we are early stage company, and obviously we love remote work and we love hybrid work, and we are traveling constantly between the US and Germany and so on. But what we value as a team is being in the office together. And that's why we decided to kind of collect everybody now in Germany, because we have this beautiful Weira office here, and it's also like a cool experience for our international team to come and experience like a new city and so on. It's more cost effective than the Bay Area, to be
Yeah,
frankly fair.
definitely.
You know, we don't know how the economy is developing and how interest rates are changing and what the plan is for us. So that was kind of the decision there. But yeah, our whole team like has migrant background. I think no one is from Germany so far. We all have migration roots. Many are from the US, some are from, other countries. So it's really cool to have like this international community in Munich.
This is interesting that no one is from Germany. Then how do you end up in Munich? Like, why?
So we grew up in Munich. I would say that we have definitely the nurture is German,
Okay.
but the nature and our family background is not German. So
Okay.
our parents are from Eastern Europe. Slovakia, Czech Republic, Hungary. We grew up here. We have the German education. We got lucky with the German education. We got like during our studies, we got the opportunity to study at the best universities in the US, and that's also what opened a little bit us the doors to go to the US and also to meet Mike, our third co-founder, who's from Miami.
Okay, that opens the door to the discussion of the team, and you mentioned also some interesting stuff about remote working but still gathering the team together. How do you plan to scale when you have a team that is all over the world, kind of? How do you make it or how do you plan to make it so it doesn't lose the culture of the company, let's say, or the culture that you want to implement?
Well, I don't know. Ask me in a couple of years, I guess.
Okay,
But I mean, what
I
we
will
know
write that
for
down.
now. What we know for now, so the core, let's say, go-to-market team or the founding team is right now in Munich.
Yep.
So we have Amadea, my co-founder. She's also my sister. Mike, our CTO. He's from the US, Cuban roots. We have Cyrus here from Iran. He used to study in the US, then worked in LA, in the UK, and then he came to Germany. We have Sam, who's from the US, and some Lebanese roots. So we are having like a mix. So we all have like proper visas and so on. We have also like Rosen from Bulgaria. So yeah, it's all, I don't know where to start, but Lena is in Gran Canaria. So it's really a mixture. But we also have teammates who are not here with us, but who are constantly, involved. So we have Arafat, for example, in Bangladesh. We had Raul in Berkeley. So it's really tough, I would say, that this hybrid structure. But I mean, it also prepares us because we know also, like when the team is traveling, not everybody goes always to the US together, right?
Yep.
So we need to have structures in place that actually remote work works. And we leverage Slack a lot. We have different channels for different things. So we have like a weekly goal priority channel. We have like a daily stand-up that we are leveraging.
Daily stand-up.
A daily stand-up, exactly,
Okay.
but all is asynchronous.
Okay.
Where we then also show like how are we pacing towards our weekly goals.
For how long? For how long is the daily stand-up?
It's just like you basically post what you're working on,
Okay.
how you are progressing towards your main goals, what the blockers are, where you need help. Then we have like a shipyard where we ship like the newest features. Then we have a design yard where
Nice.
we ship like stuff that needs feedback. So that's on that side. And we have Notion that we leverage a lot in terms of task board. So we are setting up the structures, but it's definitely not perfect and a lot to learn. But I hope that this will help us, in the future if we should scale. But I mean, that's another question, and
Yeah.
we are not there yet.
One step at a time. Then. Okay. And you mentioned something that maybe could be interesting for the people that are listening and watching us now, especially for the people from abroad. That with such a mixture, you have to deal with visas in Europe, which is not the easiest thing in the world. Is there any trick? Like, how do you deal with it? Is it too a mental stress for you? How was it?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we have the problem times two, or of the power of
Okay,
two.
even better.
Almost.
Even better.
Because not only do we need a European visa, but we also need a US visa.
Yeah, which is also super easy to get. Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, luckily we have now two teammates who have already like a US citizenship, so that helps. And we have
So you
like
marry them, and the whole team has to marry them. Okay.
Exactly. So yeah, for the US, I think yeah, if anybody has questions around US visas for founders, for employees, feel free to reach out to me. So there are basically three options. It's the O1 visa, which is like an extraordinary visa, the E2 visa, which is an entrepreneurship visa, and a L1 visa. So for employees that have worked in a subsidiary or so ever, for at least a year, they are eligible for L1 visa, which is like sending experts then to the US from the foreign company.
Okay.
So this is really great for like employees. The entrepreneurial visa is great if you are bringing money to the US. So if you are having like, for example, European investors by, I think, more than 50%, and you bring over that money to the US to build a company there, that also is like an option.
Okay.
Which L1 we could not use because we were not employed at a company for such a long time that it was possible. E2 we could not use because most of our investors are actually US based. So Amadea and I, we applied for the O1 visa, which is actually quite great because it's like very structured. You have 8 criteria and you have to meet at least 3 out of the 8 criteria.
Okay.
So to give you an example, you need press coverage, you need publications. So you have to be like an expert in your field. And then you can apply for this O1. Luckily, it got through. We are very happy. But also a reason why we had to, be in Germany because we were waiting for the visa approval. It's the good thing about the US is you have like a legal team that takes care of it or helps you file the case. Obviously, it's expensive, but again, there, we did a lot of research. We talked with a lot of lawyers, so we have really a great visibility into what is possible, what not, and by how much. So yeah, if there are any questions, happy to share offline. For the German visas, the government is trying to make it easier and simpler, especially for qualified personnel, but it's still, I would say, challenging because of the timeline. Like they are just like, even now they have, in theory, the processes in place. It's very intransparent who's responsible for what, and the responsibilities are getting shifted constantly. So, for example, if we hired from the US and from the UK, and it was like a challenge because you never know what the process is, and they're not transparent about it. You don't have a responsible person. Like you are dealing with the Auslandsbehörde, with the Arbeitsamt, with this, with that, and everybody is just like shifting you from A to B, and no one gives you any insights on where you stand in the process. So there is something called Vorabzustimmung that for like selected countries you can get already the visa beforehand. So the people don't have to relocate on that risk that they cannot start because the government is just like a little bit slower there. But we had like both Vorabzustimmungen. But with one person it worked out, could get it in the UK, but for another person it didn't work out in the US because the German embassy in the US was just so slow that they couldn't give us an appointment. So, there's like all these turbulence. So there it's a less structured process. But, there are also companies in Germany who take care of it. So I think like in terms of, scaling your team and so on, we would, also consider hiring those services. But our motto is also do it first before you delegate, so you at least understand what's going on. And so for us it was a good experience also to understand where could be potential blockers, what
Yep.
do we have to plan for, and so on.
So in this case, I assume you don't have anyone in the team who's only in charge of HR yet, right?
No. Mm-mm.
When do you think that's necessary, or when do you forecast it would be necessary for you?
So, the moment we start hiring on scale, so right now the hiring process is taken care of from one of our founders' associates.
Okay.
But obviously they wear also many hats. It's not like we are hiring now is crazy, so it's still doable. But I think the moment we want to scale, and we realize we need to hire fast, then I think a dedicated person would be great. And not only like for recruiting, but I think like for the whole culture and talent topic, personal development topic, because right now obviously it's very founder led, and I wouldn't say that any of us are experts. Like we have Nadia in the team who helps us. She's actually a psychologist and is very experienced with like talent and entrepreneurship, but it's still like very founder led.
Okay, makes sense anyway. Yet, I guess even this is always a topic to discuss because everyone has an opinion about when to hire an HR person in the team. But you mentioned also related to the team. You mentioned Mike from US. That it was the first founder that joined from US, right? Was it the first person, I guess, from US as well?
Yeah.
How was to get to him? How did you guys manage to get to him?
We know each other for a long time. We studied together in the US,
Okay.
and he
So
also
from your
studied
studies.
then in Germany
Okay.
for his master program here at LMU, and he was actually also working with PhD projects with me. So he was already
I see.
helping me coding, and he was very involved, with also all the textual stuff. So it was a no-brainer to have him on the team. At the beginning, he was not allowed to work with us.
Why so?
Because of his visa status.
Okay.
So he used to help us as a freelancer, and we tested like the collaboration, if it makes sense. So he was working then for some UK unicorns as an engineer and so on. And then eventually, when we decided to make the move to the US, we were able to onboard him as a co-founder.
Okay. Now it makes sense, of course. Okay, that's great. Also, I wanted to talk about, you said the investment, and we haven't talked yet about how you managed to stay alive until now. So can you walk us through how was it from the beginning? Like, did you use your own money, or did you raise a little FFF round?
Yeah.
How was it from the investment side?
So first it was own money. And I'm a big believer that entrepreneurs should put their own money in, because otherwise, I find it very challenging to justify why you then take other people's money. At least at early stage. I had another company before, like in the fintech space. It was also funded by institution. It's called Entrepreneurs First. This company is shutting down now, unfortunately. But you get like into the learnings, and we started with our own money. We bootstrapped, so we made revenue. And then once we felt confident what we want to do and which direction we want to go, and also having like Mike as a proper CTO in the team, like Amma and I, we have tech background. So I also studied computer science. She had like tech management, but none of us code anymore, really. We felt like confident that we can like play with the big players out there. And then we decided to raise our pre-seed round. We have focused also there on the US market. So we have some VCs in there, like CRV, Marion Ventures, who are like, CRV is one of the oldest fund in the Bay Area.
This is already 2022 when you're raising this round.
This was 2023.
2023.
Exactly. They are like, CRV is a great VC. There, Marion Ventures is a top 50 female-led fund for AI startups. Then we went through an accelerator program in the US. We have Berkeley invested, and we have amazing individual investors from the sales tech space. So either they were founders themselves, or they, are our target persona, so CROs, VP of sales. We are very happy that we have like this strong team behind us. So I don't know, like founding team member of Salesforce, founding team member of LinkedIn. So these were like all the early 1-2 employees at the companies, and it's really amazing that we got access to this network, honestly. And we wouldn't have that, I would say, if we would have not made the move to the US.
Yeah, that totally, I think, yeah, you're right. And how do you get to those profiles to invest in the company? Was it through Berkeley as well, or was it personal network?
Amadea, she had a great entrepreneurship network here in Munich because she went through a program called CDTM at Technical University and LMU, which
I've heard about it actually.
Yeah, it's producing a lot of amazing founders here in the Munich ecosystem.
Yeah.
She had a network there, so we got also angels from that community.
That's great. It's from LMU and TMU, right?
Exactly.
The top 10% of something of the people can access there. I think something like that.
I have no idea. So Amma would need to be here to understand that better. In the network in the US, we had to build up from scratch.
Okay.
I mean, that's just hard work, as it always is, I guess, with fundraising, especially in this economy. So I guess what we benefited from, and it's also something that I noticed is working quite well in the US and not yet so much in Germany, is founder intros. So in the US, we got amazing introductions from fellow founders, that you meet here and there, you don't have to know them close. Everybody says if you need an intro, if you see I'm connected with someone, I make you the intro. So that's great because, like, honestly, a lot of the great people came from a network that we just built up from scratch. In Germany, people, I think, is at least in our communities, sometimes, the opening up the network, people are a little bit more cautious.
Yeah.
Technically, having 2 female founders at the top, we know exactly what the numbers are to get money. So it's also great if you then get the support from the outside, that people are opening up their network and so on. And that helped us tremendously.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's good. I didn't expect that it was easier to get contacts in the US rather than Germany, but I already met more people that said the same, which is, got my attention.
Yeah, but I would also say, it's not so black and white, because I think the space that we are in is not so, how do you say? Yeah, now I'm missing the word, but it's not the expertise in the German market.
Mm-hmm.
So, we are in a SaaS model that is AI applied and sales tech.
Yeah.
Sales tech starts with other tech companies usually. There the bubble is not so huge here. So the investors that we have from Europe, they either founded their own companies in the SaaS space. And it's really funny if you look at our cap table, if you look at like the angels, they either come from sales or from finance and SaaS or like some AI topics.
But that's a great validation.
Pardon?
Signaling. It's a good signaling for
Yeah, so it's very clustered. But, even if we would need to hunt those people in Germany, it's not that there are so many of them here, right? Yeah. So that's also the point. Like here you have great expertise when it comes to manufacturing, for digitization, moving towards bringing stuff into the cloud for the first time. So I think... that's where the expertise is, but it's not the market we are serving. So, it was also more difficult to find these people in Germany.
Yeah, I see. And I know you have to run, and you're in a time pressure, so I don't want to take more of your time. I just have one last question that I try to ask to everyone, which is, where do you see yourself in the next, let's say, 5 years? And where do you see Loyee in the next 5 years?
Yeah, hopefully we hit a nice stage there, and we are a huge team that is still very diverse and, accommodates a lot of cultures and nations. So that would be awesome, like that we have like a solid customer base, that we have, a great company culture, and that, we became more and more attractive to investors in a competitive space.
So you see yourself still being independent, like you don't aim for an exit to, like, let's say, I don't, Salesforce will buy your company, or you prefer to go to an IPO, or for what you mean, it seems independent, but
I mean, it sounds a little bit naive, but I'm a financial economist. I already pressed once a red button, not because of myself, because I was visiting the stock exchange, but I want to press the red button one day, and let's see when, how, and with what company. But I do believe that in 5 years, hopefully, we are still on the Loyee journey.
okay, then I will ask you again in 5 years, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks a lot for coming, Jessica, and thanks a lot for your answers and your time.
Yeah, thanks for having us here.
Bye-bye. That was it. It was great.